We roll on now to the Big Ten for our college football conference predictions. Kicking things off at the bottom where we skim through it, and then at the top we go into a little bit more detail. 14, I have Illinois. I think they go under 3.5. Lovie Smith and everybody knows around the Illinois program, they know it's going to be a long rebuilding process. Don't rush it. I think another tough year for them. I think they go under 3.5. Maybe next year they can kind of take a little bit of a small step forward, but Illinois under 3.5. At 13, I'm going to go with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I think it's likely that they push 4 wins. If I had to pick either way, I'd go under that. But knowing a push is a likely outcome, they play in an awfully tough division. I mean, they got those 4 behemoths on that schedule. It's going to be really hard for Rutgers to move up this fall. The schedule is tougher than it was a year ago. Rutgers finishes 13th. At 12, I'm going to go at 12 with the Indiana Hoosiers. I think it's likely, again, another push, but I think they probably push 5 wins. Had to go one or the other. I think they go under that. I don't think they get to a bowl game this fall. Another reason for that, well, they play in that behemoth of the division. That's the Big Ten East. You get 4 absurdly tough opponents. It's going to be hard for me, Indiana. Not sold on the Hoosiers without Kevin Wilson as their head coach. So I think Indiana, 12th, probably push, or maybe they go under the 5-win mark. At 11, I'm going to go with the Purdue Boilermakers. Excuse me, at 11, it's Maryland. Giving away my 10th pick, but at 11, I'm going with the Maryland Terrapins. I think it's set at 5. I think they probably push 5 as well. A lot of pushes here. If I had to go one or the other, I would say under that. Simply because, again, as we've mentioned, they play in that division of the Big Ten East. It's going to be very difficult. No head coach. Durkin might get fired. We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of turmoil. I think maybe at first the start of the season is a relief for them, but as it wears on, I'm not sold on Maryland. I think they probably win 5 games. Maybe they go under that, but it's hard. I think this is a 5-win football team. And at number 10, as I just slipped up a minute ago, it's Purdue. The Boilermakers mark is set at 6, and again, probably a push. I feel like this is a 6-win team. If I had to go one way or the other, though, I would go under that 6-win mark. Simply because the defense lost a lot, and the defense was the strength of the team last year. I think Purdue might take a small step back next fall, but 6 wins or maybe 5, as we'll see from Purdue. At number 9, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Gophers. Year 2 under PJ Fleck, teams in Western Michigan, when they had the turnaround, the boat started rowing, if you will. I think the boat might start rowing this year for Minnesota, not to a New Year's 6 bowl game, but if the over-under's at 6 wins, I think they'd probably get to a bowl game. Not a New Year's 6 game, but a bowl game. 6 wins for Minnesota seems like a good pick. I think they probably push 6. If I had to go one way or the other, though, I would say maybe they can go over that. They play in the Big Ten West. Maybe Minnesota has a breakthrough year. I don't know. 7 wins, 6 wins. Minnesota probably pushes 6, though. But if I had to go, I'm going over that. At number 8, well, Nebraska's on frost alert. Frostbite, Minnesota, Nebraska? No, they're going to be a hot team this fall, but only hot enough to get to a bowl game. The over-under's at 6.5. I think they go under that. I think 6 wins is really where this team will finish up. Remember, they have to go to Michigan, to Wisconsin, and to Ohio State this fall. That's going to be difficult. I think Nebraska goes under 6.5 wins, but things are looking up in Lincoln. At number 7, I'm going to roll with the Northwestern Wildcats. I think they go over the 6-win mark. Clay Thorson is back. Yes, they lost Justin Jackson, but they do like his possible replacements at running back. And the defense, led by Patty Fisher, returns quite a bit. I think if they're going to win the Big Ten West, they're going to have to start creating bigger plays down the field on offense. If they don't do that, they're going to stay in this ceiling they're kind of in. Schedule's a bit tougher this year than it was last year when they won, I think, 9 regular season games and 10 overall. But I do think they're good enough to get to a bowl game, absolutely. They're going to go over 6 wins. I like this Northwestern team. I just think the top of this Big Ten is really hard and difficult, so I think they stay around 7. At number 6, I'm going to go with the Iowa Hawkeyes. 7.5. I think they go over 7.5. The schedule is really favorable for Iowa, and if they beat Wisconsin in that game in Week 4 in Iowa City, they're going to have a real chance to get out of this season with 10 or 11 wins. Circle that Wisconsin game. If they got out of that one 4-0, I mean, they've beaten Wisconsin, they've beaten Iowa State. They have an excellent season in front of them if those things happen. Plus, I like Nate Stanley as a quarterback. There's a lot of buzz about him being a first-round talent. I'm not sure he's shown us that yet in terms of production, But hey, the talent's there. If he shows that he can do it on a weekly basis, he has a player like Noah Fant to throw the football to, it tied in a mismatch nightmare. Maybe Iowa can win the Big Ten West, but for now, entering the season, I have Iowa at 6, but I definitely think they go over 7.5 wins. At number 5 in the Big Ten, I'm going to go with the Michigan State Spartans. I like Michigan State a lot, but again, the top of this league is so difficult that it's hard to find a team that they're more talented than to put them above. I think they'll go over 8.5. I think they probably win 9 games this fall. Brian Lewerke back in quarterback is, like we mentioned with Nate Stanley, is he a possible dark horse in a weak quarterback class to go in the first round? Maybe. We'll see if he takes the next step forward this fall. He has LJ Scott running the football. The defense returns a lot, but my concern about Michigan State is at the point of attack on the offensive line, can they hold up against Michigan, against Penn State, against the Ohio States of the world? Those 3 lines with so much talent on the defensive front. Michigan State's O-line struggled a bit last season. Can they hold up against those elites of the Big Ten? As of right now, I don't know the answer to that. So I'm going to say Michigan State probably is capped in that middle upper tier of the Big Ten. I have them at 5, and they go over 8.5, but I can't quite pick them as a Big Ten champ or a playoff team until I know what that offensive line is going to look like come October and November. At 4th in the Big Ten, the Michigan Wolverines, and over-under is 9. I think they'll go over 9. I think they can get to 10 wins this year because Wisconsin comes to Ann Arbor. And quite frankly, I really like Shea Patterson at quarterback for the Wolverines. Yes, I know at times he kind of underachieved at Ole Miss, but there was a lot of factors of going on at Ole Miss. I mean, that first year, he was a freshman. He had to come in for an injured Chad Kelly, only played a couple games. The second year, that Matt Luke had taken over for Hugh Freeze, wasn't the coach he committed to. The team never really clicked early last season when he was healthy. So I think all those things kind of might have led to him not playing as well as I think he could have. I think this year he plays like the kid we expected him to be coming out of high school. I really like Shea Patterson this fall. Michigan's defense, is going to be exceptional under Don Brown with all the talent they have. Rashawn Gary, Devin Bush, 2 studs at corner. Hudson back as well. I really like Michigan. I picked them 4th, but believe me, if they win the Big Ten and make it to the playoff and even win the national championship, I would not be surprised. They have more than enough talent to achieve all the goals they have as a program this fall under Coach Harbaugh. This is going to be their best team on paper. At 3, the Wisconsin Badgers, the over-under's at 10. I've been leaning towards saying they're going to push 10. If I had to go one way or the other, though, I would say take the over, simply because there's only really 3 games I've circled that are going to be tough. They have to go to Iowa, to Michigan, and to Penn State. If they go 2-1 in those games, that's 11 wins. I think at worst case they go 1-2 in those games, which still gives you a 10-win push. So why not go over on Wisconsin? 10 or 11 wins, a push or an over for Wisconsin. Hornibrook back at quarterback, but the storyline is going to be Jonathan Taylor running back and an elite, probably the best offensive line in the country entering the season. Wisconsin has all the ingredients for a playoff run this fall. I like them to win the Big Ten West, and I think this is their best offense since Russell Wilson was in Madison. And my number 2 team in the Big Ten has to be the Ohio State Buckeyes. The over-under set at 10.5. It's difficult for me to pick this. This is one of the hardest ones for me to pick. I would lean towards saying the over, though. Why? Well, I think the one game they're going to lose this season is at Penn State on Happy Valley. So whiteout, it's probably a night game on ABC in primetime. That's going to be a really tough atmosphere to go into. And if they win that one, I can see them running the table. But I think in terms of this season, this feels like an 11-1 team. So I'll take the over on 10.5. They got a lot of talent back on defense. Nick Bosa anchoring a D-line. But he has Draymond Jones, Robert Landers, and Chase Young back with him. The linebacking core with Borland and Browning ready to go. And the secondary, they keep just turning in good secondary players. Fuller's back. Ohio State, I think, finds a way to win 11 games this fall. They go over. They're second in the Big Ten. And, of course, the team I picked to beat Ohio State in September is my Big Ten number 1 team in the preseason, the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think they go over 9.5. Look, I know they lost Joe Moorhead and Saquon Barkley, but Trace McSorley is back. He has weapons at receiver. His offensive line is back, and they've kind of been improving since those abysmal offensive lines you saw when Christian Hackenberg was at quarterback. They lost a lot of leadership on defense and a couple of impact players, but James Franklin's done an excellent job recruiting. I think Penn State finds a way. Miles Sanders is a 5-star guy nobody's talking about at running back. I think he has a monster year. He's not quite Saquon, but he's an excellent running back. I think Penn State kind of surprises a couple of people, even with all the losses they had. Penn State's my pick to win the Big Ten in 2018. In the Big Ten championship game, it would be Penn State and Wisconsin, and my pick is the Penn State Nittany Lions win the game in Indianapolis.